Welcome to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are on a mission to interview women and the occasional token man about how their passion and purpose have collided to create healthy relationships and profitable businesses. I am Elizabeth Denham, here with Rebecca Baudet, and we are the founders of the Coterie for Women, a new online platform to help empower women. Rebecca, how are you doing?
Doing good. Feeling a bit frazzled, but I'm doing good.
It seems like it's just not enough time in the day.
Happy hump day to you.
Happy hump day. So excited to go to hump day happy hour soon.
Me too. It's been a lot of fun. The hump day happy hours have been really cool to connect with women on a more intimate basis. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I posted a screenshot of our last week's and we had some really fun conversations with some great women. So come if you're a woman.
Yes. No guys allowed.
No boys.
Girls club.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it that way.
So roses and thorns. I want to hear your rose and thorn first.
Okay. My rose is actually about today's guest, Ericka Garza, who is with the Pizza Hut brand and with Yum. And just working with her has been such a joy. I can't wait for you all to meet her. But the fact that we interviewed her for the Franchise Woman and Yum picked it up and shared it around and got really excited about it. That was a rose for me because it's been a fun thing to get to know her and to build a relationship with her and to also, by virtue of that, promote more women, which we'll talk about when we interview her. But just to be associated with someone like that who has such a great vision, that was a fun rose this week. And then to have our article on her shared so broadly was very exciting. So
she's such a visionary.
She is.
I mean, just this humble visionary that just sort of gets, the struggles that women go through, and she wants to provide opportunity. I can't wait to interview her.
I know. And she's willing to speak up for what she believes in, which I just love in such a big brand that she's got that voice. So I'm excited about that. But my thorn is it's actually kind of a rose / thorn. The rose is my daughter's coming unexpectedly to visit. She's covering a story. If you are not from the Gulf Coast, you might not have heard of the mullet toss, which is an annual event at the Floribama, which is a bar that straddles the Florida-Alabama line. And they literally take dead mullet and see who can throw it the farthest across from one state to the other. The mullet toss. It is a literal mullet toss. So she's coming down for that, and she can spend Friday night with us, but the Washington Post does not want her to stay with us after that because she's going to a group where people will congregate without masks, which is the point of the article. They're going by Florida guidelines, which have no restrictions, versus the Alabama side of the bar, which we still have state mandates for masks and smaller gatherings. So they're kind of covering the discrepancy between states that border in the bar and the effect on the economy. They expect 2,000 people. They usually have 20,000 people usually show up to throw dead fish. So my thorn is that she doesn't get to stay with us after Friday night because the Post doesn't want to, take on that risk for our family, which is very sweet. However, I told her we could just throw her in the shower every time she walked in the door. I'd have been okay with it.
That's right. We spray her down, hose her down.
Yeah, but it's her first business trip as a reporter. So it's so funny. I mean, like the Washington Post cannot get over the mullet toss. So,
well, I'm so glad you told me what a mullet was because I know mullets is a haircut. Isn't that what a mullet
That's what one of my sons was like, they're going to toss hair? I'm like, no, fish, dead fish.
And then when you said it was dead, I'm like, okay, dead hair.
Dead fish. I know it's hard to wrap your mind around it, but this is the redneck Riviera for a reason.
It is the redneck.
Oh, you're muted there.
Uh-oh. There we go. She's back.
Oh, tell me if your rose and thorn can top throwing dead fish across state lines.
No, you win. You win. I'm not even going to bother to compete with that one. You win, hands down.
Well, what is yours?
Oh, is it possible to have 2 thorns in 1 week and no rose?
If you must.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're really open to that. So.
Well, I think you need to get them off your chest. So we will go with it because you've had a lot of roses lately.
I've had so many wonderful roses.
Yeah.
I had 2 thorns this week. As you know, I'm buying a house on the lake in Northwest Arkansas, and It's been a while since I've done this, and the paperwork is like this kind of crazy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're doing things from state to state and all of that kind of stuff, and getting 10,000 phone calls because this place it needs help. That's all I can say.
It's a fixer-upper.
It's a fixer-upper, and you got calls from different contractors and this and that and inspectors. So I'm not real fond of all the red tape. I just like to move forward. And then the other thorn is my little baby. She's just turned 1, as you know. She's my namesake. Her name is Violet Monet. Middle name is Monet.
Pretty.
And she took a tumble yesterday.
Oh, no.
She's 1 year old, and she took a tumble and she fell. No hands to smack that on her face. And so she got a little red nose, and it looks like she's going to get a little bit of a puffy eye.
But she didn't knock any teeth out.
Well, we're going to take her to the dentist tomorrow.
Okay.
She doesn't seem to have any issues because she's chewing and chewing and chewing on the front teeth. So if she's injured them, it's not hurting. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's good. Well, and the baby teeth are the ones to knock out because you got the, the adult teeth coming in right behind them at some point. She may just be toothless for a while if it died.
5 years. Toothless for 5 years. Poor little kid.
There's your rose. At least she has ones to grow back.
There you go. That's
if something were to happen.
Definitely a rose.
Well, that's too bad. Poor little thing. Did she cry and cry?
She cried and she bled. She cut her little lip.
And lips bleed.
It's so funny because my daughter is very sensitive and she's crying harder than the baby's crying.
Oh, no.
In fact, the baby's looking at her. My daughter's just bawling, right? Like mamas, we all have these mama hearts.
Oh, yeah. That's pitiful. Now, does she have any boys? She doesn't have any boys, does she?
She doesn't have any boys.
Probably a good thing because they tend to whack and bleed.
They whack and bleed, yeah.
Yeah. I had one who was in the backyard. He was probably 5, maybe, running around. He had a stick and he was running around in circles, making himself dizzy. And then he decided to look at the ground, holding the stick, and the stick went in his eye. And I was like, ugh.
No.
He was fine. Thankfully, it didn't scratch anything important. But my friend down the street was an optometrist. So I called her and I'm like, can I come in? It was like 5 till 5.
Help. Yeah.
Like, will you please check his eye? Just dumb things boys do, Yeah. Can't avoid it. So maybe she'll be a little safer with some girls.
Yep. Okay, so the rose it's a girl. It could be worse. It could have been an eye poked out or something.
Or slapping somebody with a bat. You just never know.
That's right.
Boys do crazy things.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I'm glad she's okay, and hopefully her teeth will survive and she will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think hard. She will be.
And when they're that age, it's just sad. They're very sad when they get sad.
I know. Those little lips, they go like this.
I know. Well, you'll have to fill us in next week about the dental trip.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Well, those are the roses and thorns for the week. So tune in next week to find out more about baby teeth and moving. We will see you next time. Welcome back to the podcast where passion and purpose collide. We are here with a very special guest today. We've talked to her a few times this week, and we're very excited to help her share what she's got going on. But first, let me tell you about her. This is Ericka Garza. She leads franchise recruiting for Pizza Hut US. Ericka strives to recruit only the best multi-unit candidates into the system that can ensure the best-in-class customer experience while also protecting and fortifying the Pizza Hut brand. Pizza Hut is on a transformational journey, and Ericka strives to not just find candidates, but true partners that share the company's vision, have passion for innovation, and ambition for growth. Previously, she served as Director of International Franchise Development for Boston Pizza, Mexico. She was responsible for implementing a franchise development strategy for international growth. Prior to that, she served on the 7-Eleven franchising team. So Ericka, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here and can't wait to talk to you.
This is an honor. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I think you rate in one of the most interesting people I have ever met. So I am so excited to be spending this time with you. I'm wondering if, Ericka, if you could start us with what your role is and this interesting initiative Pizza Hut and, of course, Young Brands is working towards. So tell us a little bit about what you do and these initiatives.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you how we got to this very important initiative for the entire organization, just not for Pizza Hut. So I lead the franchising traditional and non-traditional side of the business, which essentially is sales for franchising. I also have, the opportunity to sit on quite a bit of whether it's boards or ERGs of our organization that, include diversity and equity and inclusion. But a couple of years ago, we started noticing, we've got franchisee conferences, which are twice a year. And it was very, very noticeable that during our conferences, you don't see a lot of franchisee women, but what you do see are a sea of women that work for our male franchisees at all different kinds of capacities, whether it's leadership, whether it's directors, senior managers, to the restaurant level. And so one of the things that I started thinking about as going to these conferences was, where do they go at night? Because I don't see them. And do they go to their room? Where do they go? Because I see lenders, I see franchisee, I see executives, but the part that I never really got to see were females other than in the day. So that just kind of started credit to, at the time, our CPO, that is now the CPO at Taco Bell. She raised a really good point about how do we increase women franchisees. And so my natural response was, we need to celebrate what we have today, because I cannot bring you 2 franchisees tomorrow or next week. But what we can do is start celebrating the women that do attend our conferences, the women that are in our system, the women that have very high metrics and work really hard for our male franchisees. And so from there, the idea gave birth to hey, we should have, at one of these conferences, we should have a community of females. And that includes, our executive females, that includes the leaders that work for our franchisees, that includes the women that are in the restaurant level, and that obviously includes our vendors and our franchisees. And so from there, the idea started growing, and I actually credit to some of our male franchisees. I thought I should do a case study. I should go visit the franchisees that I had selected. And to my surprise, pleasant surprise, it was so intriguing to me how our franchisees were so willing to create an incentive program, give away 1 store to an area coach. So there was a lot of activity, and there was a lot of support to be able to build women into franchising. So that was one path. But from there, it was an idea that was pitched to at our James Fripp, which is our chief global equity officer. And so the idea was, hey, what if we did something for Pizza Hut, for all the women in franchising? From there, it was, no, let's just not have it with Pizza Hut. This should be extended to all the brands, right? KFC, Taco Bell, and now our newly acquired brand, which is the Habit Burger. So the idea just started growing and growing and growing. And I have to give credit to KFC, to Monica Rothjury, which is their chief operating officer. She actually held a women in franchising brunch at their franchisee conference. There was over 300 women that attended this brunch at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. in the morning. They all showed up. But that should just tell you the buzz, right? That should just tell you the support and the need. And I was a special guest. And I really went there, and I just thought, this is so amazing to see such harmony, such support. Women, on boards, their husbands are sitting here. And that just really just kind of coupled up with the idea that we had at Pizza Hut. So we've gotten a lot of support from all different kinds of levels. And so that really is what's going to provide us the opportunity to have our first virtual Women in Franchising Conference, which will take place November 17th. And that is in collaboration across all our brands. It's a first ever. It's been a lot of work. It's very exciting. You know, obviously the original intent was to have it at our Plano office, where we would have been able to open the doors to just a multitude of females that are in the industry. This particular event will really provide an opportunity for our across all our brands, whether they're the executives that work for our franchisees or people in the restaurant, the opportunity to hear it directly from Yum, whether it's the leadership, to really talk about the women that we've got in the business, their challenges, their success stories, but really with the intention of embracing and sending out that message: we are here for you, and we want you to grow, whether it's with your career or whether it's, you know, hopefully with the opportunity of you start thinking about how to grow yourself into franchising. As a minority and as a double minority, I believe in what I'm about to say. I believe in the power of path, because without somebody giving you a path and an opportunity, it's really hard to enter this industry. And just the capital from the financing, there's a lot of barriers. And that's not even without even talking about the internal challenges that the females already presenting themselves with, whether it's the fear of failure, whether it's they don't advocate for themselves, or the fear that they're going to make a mistake or they're not going to fit in this world, the imposter syndrome, and then double it up with being a double minority. So I understand those challenges because I live on myself. Now, where I don't have power, obviously, I don't have power on the external challenges, which could be the financing. The financing part, I mean, this is not, there's no mystery to this. And it's just, it's known in the industry that a female will have more challenges than a man to get financing. Point blank. That's a barrier. The second one, it's the training side of it, right? So she can have the financing, she can have the business acumen, and to me, she can have the grit and she can have the power. But if you come into a brand and doesn't have the tools to set you up for success in terms of training, operations, capabilities, etc., I really do believe that we have world-class training. And the support that you get, it really is. It's a world-class training, but it also requires people to have a lot of grace and a lot of patience for people that don't have the restaurant industry. And so part of setting up for somebody up for success too is, hey, he or she might come in with maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 stores. Our job as the franchisor is really to, you know, provide you that growth opportunity where if you meet the metrics, if you're a good ambassador of the brand, if we have done that job for you, right? So if you meet all those requirements, that's why I think as a franchisor, we should feel like we're doing our job. We gave you the tools, we give you continuing training, we're supporting you, you're associated with a great territory coach, great marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our commitment in return should be, we're gonna help you grow. My commitment to whether it's our franchisees or, you know, our female franchisees and the ones to come, you have, as long as I'm here, you have my commitment that I will find a great story to elevate you and a great story for the other brands across our system to get to know you, where you came from, what you've done for our brand, and how you should be celebrated. Because for me, you know, we are the only brand, we are the largest restaurant brand in the world, but we're also the only restaurant that I know of that we have every business in terms of chicken, burger, tacos, and pizza. So the typical multi-unit franchisee that's very successful that is out there typically wants his or her portfolio to have each segment.
Right.
We are the only brand that has that. So if we can grow our franchisees, especially our female franchisees. I would prefer that, you know, they're able to grow within our sister brands instead of having to leave us because they got an opportunity with another burger place. Because I can tell you that other brands, just by being in the industry and the colleagues I have in the industry, brands would love to have women in the business. Brands would love to have, built their D&I. There's a lot of people that are trying to work as hard as they can to provide these opportunities. So for us, I think as a brand, we have the commitment, and from myself, I feel it's a genuine obligation. And for me, it feels like my responsibility to bring you into the brand and to grow. And I think that's the exciting part when you bring in people to the brand, whether it's women or men, when you see them growing and you see them being happy with the brand, or if I get a call and say, hey, now I want to grow KFC, I want to grow into Taco Bell or The Habit. For me, it makes me like just want to jump up and down, because I feel like we set you up and you're happy with the brand. We did the right thing. We want you to grow. We want you. That's a successful story for us, and quite honestly. So that's part of, look, I've always said this, and anybody who knows me in the organization, outside of the organization, I feel tremendously blessed because the roles that we play, people in development and sales, we are the ones that have the opportunity to give somebody a path. And we are the ones that in many ways can be contributors to changing your life. Right. To be successful, to be an entrepreneur. We have, and I don't want to use the power. I use the word power of path, but I'm not saying I have the power. But we do, in a sense, we're the key to being able to put you in front of the leaders. We are the ones that advocate for you. We are the ones that are going to help you in every possible way we can to become a franchisee. And so I think I have, in my opinion, I think I have probably the most unique job at Pizza Hut in the organization. And what I mean by that, everybody has amazing jobs, but I get the honor of meeting franchisees. I get the honor of hearing where they come from and how hard they work to get here, how they saved. Some of them are naturally blessed, but they have great stories. But what I look for are those that are naturally blessed and very well capitalized, in the vetting process and even in the presentation process. I really look for not just, it's a given they're well capitalized, it's a given they have their business acumen. What might not be given is your culture of how you treat people. What might not be given is how you are a community leader. What might not be giving is how you incentivize. What might not be giving is how do you elevate people to become franchisees. So it's beyond the transaction. It's beyond all that. It's really looking into the inner of that person and that organization to see how they think and how they're going to be partners for the brand. And it's really not a difficult job. It's more of, seeing above and beyond to make that person successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Beautiful. I think that one of the amazing things that you have done as the visionary of this initiative and this goal, and that Yum has supported you, that's one of the bigger barriers removed already, that you have that sort of support and this sort of vision and this sort of initiative. And this is something that is so top of mind for not just you, but everybody who's backing you to support this initiative. Removing that barrier, and the fact that you were so pleasantly surprised when you went to go visit the franchisees about how receptive they were to support women. I think sometimes you just need that driver. People are willing to do it, but you need somebody to take on the challenge of being in charge of it. Right. And that's what you've done, and you keep it on top of their mind.
Yeah, and I'd like to share why I was, because I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good story to share, and hopefully inspiring to other franchisees. Why I personally was pleasantly surprised of when I decided to kind of take a road show and visit some. I did a case study, and I thought, okay, so there's no incentives today at Yum. At the time, there was no incentives, and this is about a year and a half ago. But I thought, we've got some very generous franchisees, and we've got some franchisees that are very grateful to their area coaches and to people that run their business. I mean, area coaches run their businesses, and without the staff from the restaurant level to, you know, overseeing an area, they're critical to the success of our franchisees and to our business. I mean, remember, franchisees pay royalties, so it's a win-win. We want them to be successful. So the first thing I thought about, you know, I selected 5 franchisees that I know feel that I'm aware of, by the way. They're all great to the franchisees, but that I can tell you that I felt very comfortable mapping them out, saying, I'm going to start with him, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go this. And I went to Louisiana, here locally. I mean, I totally did a case study, and I thought, God, this is going to be really hard. How am I going to pitch this to a franchisee? I'm asking the franchisee to put money out of his pocket when they could naturally come back to me and say, well, why aren't you doing it? Mm-hmm. You're this big brand. Like, why are you hitting me up for this? So it was a risk for me to do that. And for all fairness, this wasn't even presented to Yum. So I can't say, well, Yum wasn't willing to do it. I didn't even go there. I just went on the attack and said, before I do all that, I'm gonna go to the franchisees, because they can select the area coach that I'm not aware of. So there was science behind it. So pleasantly surprised, by the time I got to Louisiana on a case study, that franchisee, Jesse Arnold, great shout out, he had 2 ladies for me to have a conversation with to see, would it be appealing to them? How would they structure it? Like, he had done all that work for me by the time I got there. There was already conversations happening. But the fact that these franchisees were willing to, hey, I'll give one store to one area coach, and we'll figure out, you know, the management fee. Like, everybody got very creative. Then another franchisee, a local one here in Dallas, was, I have already somebody, let's do it. I'll ask for this very small percentage. Like, it got very creative. And so for me, you had to meet, if somebody wanted to give a store and get some kind of a percentage, they weren't willing to just give them an underperformer store. They were willing to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And on top of being so grateful, we're going to set them up for success. That means the world to me, because who am I? I'm not a franchisee. Who am I to tell you what store to dictate? They're losing, they would be potentially losing money, giving away one of their profitable stores. That was not an issue. It was about, how do we help somebody become a franchisee? And the support that I got from our Pizza Hut franchisees and the willingness to do that had nothing to do with me, quite honestly. It had everything to do with, I believe in it, and there should be more women. And so if they grow this business and I get a percentage, I'm still making money. And then you can grow and grow and grow. But I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that internally people are willing to do this. Another great thing that I need to bring up that is just, I'm floored. We have a franchisee in California, Jerry Artizone, and key operator, Jamie Nelson. And I'm dropping names because these are success stories, and it's all credit to them. As this women's conference is developing, they're actually having, we get the support of this team. They have their women that work for them are going to have a watch party, and they're catering food and they're all going to watch this conference. And so for me, just to think that a franchisee would be okay to remove their employees from, let's say, 5 hours from working, to be able to sit there and say, we're going to watch Yum, let's see what they have to say, that they're supporting them and they're supporting me and they're supporting us. That means the world. That means the world. And I think it speaks volumes of how people want to see this happen and want to see women be successful. Now, the challenge for us is, how do we create these opportunities? And internally, internally, I know that Yum is working in so many different paths for this to happen, for minorities, for females. But for me, just even getting out of the Yum, I can't wait to see the industry work together and say, we believe in this, lenders are going to be flexible, people are going to invest in terms of being mentors, franchisees are going to elevate women in the business. So whether you're thriving to be a female franchisee or you're just a female executive in the business, you should be celebrated. You should be. I mean, you're in the industry. You work just as hard as anybody else. And franchisees should be thrilled to have women running their businesses. And the way that I view it and I translate it, I'm very grateful to our male franchisees.
Right.
That give the women opportunity and the trust to run their businesses. So they should be celebrated just as well. So I'm very excited. And I don't know if you can tell, I get a little passionate and pumped when it comes to this.
It's awesome, Ericka. It's so amazing.
But my passion and pump really comes from, I know the topic is to talk about women in franchising. It goes a little above that. It goes into just, let's give people opportunities to be entrepreneurs, to achieve the American dream, to be able to call themselves, business people. I don't believe that people go into business to set themselves like for failure. And so this is where the partnership really needs to come in. You come in with the capital and with the grit and the appetite to be the entrepreneur, to be a great brand ambassador. In return, I'm going to set you up for success and I'm going to help you in every way to achieve that. But in return, to continue helping grow. Because remember, this is not a contract of 5-10 years. You're talking about years and years within the business. So it's about, there's just a lot behind it. And I'm super excited that that we, all of our brands, have the support from leadership from the top to all levels. We are just a very, we're just a very, very supportive organization. This is the first conference ever, and I think it's just about to grow more and more and more. And I'm just super excited. But I also, like I said, if everybody can come to Yum to become female franchisees, I welcome everybody. We are interested in building the pipeline. We are interested in helping everybody that we can. But it also takes the industry in general to be able to help us in terms of like financing opportunities and make it just a more open to the idea. And I think once we get there, the barriers will slowly start knocking, where we are able to gain that confidence, to be able not to walk into a room where it's just men and you can feel insecure. I also can't wait for a culture to be created outside of Yum, where even if you're in an organization, whatever industry it is, but you're a franchisee, chances are you're probably going to be very, very limited, maybe the only one or very few female in that industry. I can't wait for them to feel that they can sit on a board and that they have just this equal opportunity to say, I agree or I disagree. I'm on, I'm not. Here's an idea. And that it gets valued, it gets appreciated, it gets exercised, it gets taken off. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking for equality, and I think we will get there, but I can't wait for that to happen. I can't wait for all of us to be able to celebrate and feel like we're here. We're here, and we just have, because another interesting fact, when you become a franchisee, the criteria doesn't change. The criteria does not say you need to look like this. The criteria does not say that you have to be a male. The criteria doesn't say any of that. Everybody has the same qualifications and criteria. Right. So why do we struggle to find that equality when we have met every criteria?
Yeah. So Ericka, you're clearly a visionary, and you're a passionate visionary, and we're alongside you here. We want this initiative to go beyond Yum brands into other brands. But you mentioned this thing about pipeline. There's no doubt in the world of franchising, it's kind of a 70-30 split, in terms of men and to women. But in food, it's even less women in the business than men. So what are you doing to encourage women to look at these 4 fabulous brands that you have under the Yum brand? What are you doing to encourage that pipeline and get women to come take a look at being multi-unit operators under one of these brands?
Yeah, so I can tell you from my experience, because I don't want to steal anybody's thunder from across my sister brands, and I know they're heavily working on the same initiatives and have this, the passion. I can tell you from I can tell you from building a pipeline can be very challenging. That in the restaurant industry, there's very few women that, as I mentioned earlier, that want to be in the process. I have a healthy pipeline of females that want to come into the brand because they are either managers at a restaurant or they have very limited years of experience. And so that's where the part that I'm talking about, it's not that they're not going into our website and looking for the opportunity. It's more about the challenge of them finding the capital structure and maybe have lack of experience. This is where, as a brand, we have an opportunity to say, okay, you know, you're a manager right now. Maybe you don't have X amount of experience. It is our responsibility first for the brand to figure out a way how we can get them there, right? How do we train them? How do we support them? So that's one path. Secondly, I'll credit to you guys. So a couple of months ago, Elizabeth reached out to me, and I think I was referred to you, Elizabeth, by someone, and you know, you did which I'm really grateful to you, and I think the brand is grateful to you too, because you wrote an article on women in franchising and what do I do for Pizza Hut, and you touched a little bit on the conference, but the intention was really to talk about the passion and what we're doing at Pizza Hut. And so that article you published on LinkedIn, that got picked up by our communications people, from a Pizza Hut level to a Yum level. And that was a very nice surprise. But through that article, people have responded, people have commented. That has built my pipeline. And I can tell you, whether it's been women that work for our franchisees that have sent me inspirational stories, or people that have reached out through the website or have personally sent me an email to find a path of how to become a franchisee. So via that avenue, you guys have been able to grow my pipeline.
Yay.
And what's very
so exciting.
Yay, we're excited for you.
So exciting, yeah.
It's true. And what's very inspiring is that you guys have been able to generate an interest of whether it's area coaches or employees that work for our franchisees. And so those are the ladies I'm talking to that have gone above and beyond to send me an inspirational point of view and inquire of how to become a franchisee, a mentorship opportunity from my end. It's brought all kinds of different opportunities for us and for the brand. And so I'm grateful that you invested. And this is why I'm going to go right back to the very first thing that I believe in. I believe in you have to have an opportunity and somebody that invests in what you're doing. Because you, Elizabeth, you didn't know me from left to right. Somebody told you something about me and you got intrigued and you reached out to me and something compelled you to write this article. Without me, one, very flattered, and I felt very honored, but it wasn't for me, it wasn't with the intention of, oh, she puts it on LinkedIn, it's gonna, no, it has driven a lot of brand awareness. It has provided a platform to talk about how Yum supports women in franchising, how we all as a collaborative, how we all across the brands are working together to make this event happen. But from the Pizza Hut side, it's brought me a tremendous amount of everything that I just mentioned, whether it's opportunities, mentorship opportunities. It's put me at a very different platform of supporting women that I'm not sure if I would have gotten that platform, quite honestly. So I'm very grateful, honestly. I'm very, very grateful because building the pipeline is a very challenging thing for somebody in my role when it's targeting women in franchising.
Right.
The people
We
that you have
understand.
brought to me,
So
the people
thrilled.
that you have brought to me are genuine. The people you have brought to me are hard workers. The people that you guys have brought to us in the pipeline are people that exactly what I envision helping people become female franchisees.
Yay.
These are individuals that they need a break. They need someone that believes in them. I'm not looking for people that, you know, had to go to a certain university, that has to be a certain pedigree. These are women that are hard workers, that didn't know that Yum had a passion, nor a path, nor an investment. This was untapped, quite honestly. We know it internally because we work on it. But you guys took it upon yourselves to say, let me reach out to Ericka. That has built my pipeline. And I have to show you this, I think.
There it is.
I love it.
This is the article that I'm talking about. And one of our franchisees and his team decided to do this and send it to me, how much they support, you know, women in franchising, how proud they are that Yum is doing this. But for me, can you imagine somebody ringing the
That's
doorbell?
so sweet.
And it got sent to me through FedEx of how proud they were. I mean, it's little things like that I am grateful because it was through your avenue. And yeah, it's been very great. So, you know, the pipeline question is going to forever be challenging, I think, in this industry. But I think when you have opportunities, platforms like this, or franchisees that refer you to other women in the business, or get creative, think out of the box, start targeting your own franchisees to give women opportunities.
Yes.
To me, that's more of an exercise than just building a pipeline. Right?
Agreed.
It's really you in my role to be able to say, I'm going to go target people that I know are hard workers, that I know would be approved. Most importantly, they deserve an opportunity. So why not start with your own people that work for franchisees that can give me a personal vetting to say, I would vouch for that person. So
Amen.
Pipelines are great. I encourage them. I think they're great. But really, to me, my key and my commitment is let's help the people that have the grit and that, you know, really want to do this for the long run.
We're with you. We're with you.
So much.
Which brings us full cycle, Ericka. We could talk to you for 100 years, as you know.
I know,
We told you
so
that
great.
the other day.
Talk to you guys.
So we're going to have you back. But for now, can you let people know how they might get hold of you, or how they might learn more about Pizza Hut and some of the other opportunities at Yum Brand?
Yeah, no. So for me, I like the direct contact. I like the direct contact. So, you know, I'm open to, you know, you reaching out to me via email at Ericka. So it's ERICKA.Garza, GARZA @yum.com.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
I, you know, any questions that you might have, anything that I can help you with, anybody I can direct you to, it starts off with that personal conversation. So I welcome anybody to reach out, and happy to help in any way that I can.
Thanks, Ericka.
No, thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we will definitely have you back, and keep us posted on everything, because what you're doing fits so well into what we want to do.
It's our
We want
mission.
to elevate those stories, elevate women's opportunities. And so however we can work together to continue to build that pipeline and to elevate women into positions that they need to be in, you know, definitely we'll keep in touch. But thank you so much for coming on the show today, and we will be back in touch with you soon.
All right. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Thank
Ericka.
you. Take care.
What do you think is the #1 challenge for franchisors? You got it, getting the right fit franchisee. And as you know, poor fit franchisees are often poor performers. Poor fit franchisees cost more to train and support. Poor fit franchisees are rarely satisfied or compliant, which can lead to validation issues. Not a good place to be. But now there is a solution. Zoracle Profile's scientific spot-on match program. Working with top broker groups in franchising, Zoracle has created a platform that scientifically matches the broker's candidate to the right fit franchise brand. Spot On Match predicts the compatibility, performance, and viability of a prospective franchisee. Spot On Match gives the franchise development team a data-driven and scientific approach to selling franchises. This is how it works. Zoracle works with each franchisor to establish their top performer blueprint. This research assesses current franchisees to determine the key psychographic indicators that separate high performers from mid to low performing franchisees. The final result of the research is the brand's Eclipse report, which compares prospective franchisees to a franchise system's high performers. Finally, brokers are running a spot-on profile on each of their franchise prospects. These profiles are then scientifically bumped up against the franchisor's high performer algorithms, and the match process begins. Dashboards are built for the franchisor and the broker to make sure the process is smooth and trackable. Right Fit matches instantly. Find out how you can be a spot-on match member. Save time. Stop guessing. Start matching. Call Zoracle Profiles.
Welcome to Women in the Know, where we discuss everything from politics and policy to relationships and marketing. We take the things that we have learned through our experiences and through our interviews and share them with you, the viewer, so that hopefully we can all learn a thing or two about life. So today's topic, Rebecca, comes from our conversation with Ericka Garza from Yum and Pizza Hut. And we've talked to her several times, aside from this interview that you're watching today. But in some of our other conversations, she talked about grit versus pedigree and the expectation of having a certain pedigree of education or wealth or experience. But the people who have grit, which is something that you and I like to talk about, and we have talked extensively about on the show, how she would almost rather have someone with those qualities than someone. And she talked about the expectation. You expect someone with a pedigree, with an education, with access, with money, with basically privilege, to succeed. That's an expectation of the next step for them. But somebody with grit who has it in them to create that success is something that she values very highly. So do you think that is a common thing that people in business, especially in positions like hers, look for? Or do you think she's a unicorn?
I think she's a unicorn. I really do. And that's what makes her such a wonderful visionary. Because I think if you go out to find a job, they're looking at a resume and what schools you went to and what volunteer work you did. They are looking for pedigree. She called it pedigree, which I thought was a really cool term for it. And the truth is, what she's looking for is those softer attributes, the grit, the tenacity, the ability to stay committed, the ability to take initiative, the ability to overcome obstacles. And she has found that minority groups and immigrants and women seem to have this grit that then equates to business success. And maybe they have more grit than those folks who have pedigree because they've had to work harder or overcome things or attempt things that maybe someone who's had greater privilege or greater pedigree hasn't had that same reason to fight and push themselves to get to a certain level of success. So I thought it was brilliant how she described this pedigree versus grit, and she would always choose grit, and she loves finding people and giving them an opportunity as long as they show these other attributes. And of course, she's never going to compromise the integrity of Pizza Hut or Yum Brands and the criteria that they're looking for. But she is clear that with this grit, this person she's going to open some doors for them. She's going to give them some opportunities. And I think it's brilliant.
Well, it is. And as she said, you never know, like, don't take people for granted. You don't know their experience. You don't know. She talked about 7-Eleven, where you had a lot of immigrants, but in their countries, they had the status or they had the education or they had the clout, but it hasn't transferred to the US in terms of our educational requirements or experience or the language barrier. Sometimes, that's a huge barrier to entry in a lot of things if you can't speak the language that well. And she talked about getting to know those people and recognizing that in their countries, they were completely in a different space from where they are now, just by virtue of the fact that they're immigrants here. So taking those strengths, and you can still have that education. You can be an educated woman and still have to fight harder to get your foot in the door. Or you can be a brilliant person without the degree and not get your foot in the door because it's not this piece of paper. Right. So allowing for the opportunity for people wherever they come from to show who they are on the inside, and to prove themselves on merit, I think is
imagine that
to her. Imagine that, right?
Imagine that she's at a place where it's we're not just giving out trophies because you have a certain background or because you show up, but it is based on merit, based on your tenacity and your grit and your willingness to work hard and to make the commitment and do those things. So,
and to a degree, your potential,
Yeah, exactly.
How many
I'm
people
excited.
are filled with potential that we don't tap because of these barriers that we all put up?
And she talked about, not judging a book by its cover, because we don't know people's history and we don't know everything about them. And to give people a fighting chance, a reason to be heard and a reason to, open some doors for them. And she talks about her own experience where, others have mentored her or given her opportunity because they saw potential, even though she herself is what she called a double minority. And
right.
So I thought that was kind of right. And somebody gave her a chance, and she's turning around and doing similar for others. I want this to catch on, Elizabeth. I want this to catch on. Well, I want all franchisors to embrace this kind of initiative and this philosophy of thinking, because I think there's a whole lot of potential franchisees and women in particular who have incredible potential if we just give them a chance.
I agree. And with a brand like Yum, I think there's a chance that could catch on, and with her getting out there and being vocal, really admire her, because as a double minority in a big brand, she has a voice that they have embraced, and she has embraced her role. It's a really great example of when you stick to what you believe in and you stand up for it, even when it might be scary or risky. When she first introduced some of these ideas and visions, I'm sure she was a little nervous about how it would be received. And to be embraced the way that she has and get that messaging out the way that she is, that's how things do catch on.
Go girl. That's all I can say. Go girl. And let's follow her lead. All right.
Absolutely. We're going to help her as much as we can, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on Ericka Garza and what Yum Brands are up to. But until next week, when we solve other big questions, we'll see you soon next week with another wonderful Women in the Know conversation.
The Franchise Woman is a bi-monthly digital magazine that empowers women as they navigate the franchising industry by providing relevant news, tools, advice, and inspiration. We are a resource for women who are seeking to own their own businesses, improve their existing businesses, find creative solutions, and take advantage of franchise opportunities. We feature women in the business who best exemplify our ideals and have something to teach our readers. In addition to our exclusive articles relating to the female entrepreneur, we also feature brands that are geared for women. Women have become the fastest growing sector in business ownership and have become a powerful, influenceable force fueling the economy. The Franchise Woman will give you the news that is relevant to you to help you navigate the path of successful franchise ownership. By women, for women, and about women. We are the Franchise Woman. Join us today at www.thefranchisewoman.com.
Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. All you have to do is send us your question to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. So, Elizabeth, our question today stems from our conversation with Ericka Garza from Pizza Hut, one of the Yum brands, where she talked about not judging a book by its cover. So I'm curious, have you ever had someone misjudge you or see your cover a certain way and you weren't that way?
Yeah, a lot actually. Especially when I was younger. I was quiet when I was young. I was a kid who hid behind my mother's skirt. And when I was growing up, we moved at the end of 6th grade, and that's a terrible time to move. Middle school is just not the greatest time for girls. And so I was very, very shy and quiet. And we were only there 10 days, and then the summer came, and then we went back to the middle school. So people thought I was stuck up. They just assumed that because I was so painfully shy that it was hard for me to just walk up to somebody and have a conversation. And by 7th grade, all these kids out in the country had gone to grade school all together for all this time. So they had this group, and I was on the outside. And so I, struggled to bring myself out of my little quiet shell. And I got told often that I was a snob. And I was like, no, just afraid to talk to you people. Not really I don't think I'm a snob, but
Isn't that funny? I wonder how many other shy or introverted people get that same kind of labeling that you're a snob.
I think it happens a lot. I think that it's better than thinking people like maybe they don't want to think she just doesn't want to talk to me. And even that wasn't it. That would have been another misread. But people think of it internally, how it affects them. They don't think that maybe that person needs a little coaxing,
Right. It's not about you. It's about me, right? I'm the one that's shy. I want to talk to you. I want to be your friend, but I'm so scared.
6th and 7th grade is just a very awkward age to begin with. And when you
my gosh, especially for a girl. So. Especially for a girl. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And then I didn't make cheerleader. It was just it was a time. What about you? Have people misjudged you?
Well, I'm thinking of 2 times where I was misjudged, but because we're limited on time, I'm only going to share one.
I had 2 also.
We may have to do this show again.
Yeah.
So the one that kind of comes up is, people know me as a behavioral scientist. And frequently the picture people have of me is of this mad scientist that I'm kind of all in my head. I don't know, kind of Einstein-y looking. And so when they meet me face to face, especially now that we are using Zoom more, or if I'm doing a presentation or I'm speaking in public somewhere, frequently I will have people come up and say, oh, I was so worried about taking a class from someone who's a behavioral scientist. We thought you were going to be boring and you were going to be dry, but you're funny and you're witty and you're playful and you're silly and you're all of those things. They thought I was just going to be this dull, boring kind of individual. So, and I've had that comment so many times, and I oftentimes wonder, if I'm going to a conference and I'm a speaker, how many times people don't show up just because I have some.
You need a tagline. Rebecca Monet, behavioral scientist. I'm not a dud.
I'm not a dud. That's a good idea.
Why not? Yeah. They usually ask you how you want to identify yourself. I just stick it in there, see what they say. And clearly by stating it, you would not be a dud, because who would do that?
I love that. I may just have to do that. I've been called eccentric and, brainy and all of that kind of blah, 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 blah stuff.
You could say, Rebecca Monet, I've jumped out of a plane.
That's right. I have. And that should interest people, don't you think?
Right there, not a dud. You don't even have to say it.
What scientist that understands gravity would do that?
Exactly. Clearly not a dud.
Clearly not a dud.
That one even better.
She's either crazy or maybe
lying.
Maybe she's, okay. Oh my gosh.
Oh. Next time you're asked to speak, that's what I think you need to put in the program.
Okay. Not a dud.
Not a dud.
Jumped out of an airplane.
Either one. You can try them both out and see which comes better.
Oh, I love it. Well, okay, we need to wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.